Okay, we're going to look at our MIG welder. This is our standard 220 MIG welder. So the first thing we're going to make sure is we got to kind of go over a little bit of the safety. Remember, this is going to be very hot, so when you're welding, you're more than likely going to be wearing leather gloves. I'm going to start off without gloves because I got to show you some intricate parts on it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're plugged in. Most of the time you're going to find this inside one of the booths and the plug will be on the wall. Okay? Make sure you have your hands are away from all the terminals. Remember, this is 220, not 110, so it packs a little extra punch if you get shocked on it. Okay? Plug that in. Our first step. Then we're going to make sure our gas is turned on up here, so we're going to open this valve up. If you don't know which way to go, make sure you just look on the top. You're going to open it all the way up till it stops, then you're going to come back down about half a turn. Okay, we don't want to leave it cranked completely open, as sometimes the valves will get stuck there. Alright, next we're going to take our ground clamp. And you notice how this was hanging up here at the end? We always like to drape these over the top at the end of the day so they're nice and straight cords. We don't want to get any kinks in them. We're going to take our ground strap and we're going to hook it onto our table that we're going to weld on. And then we're going to take a look at our welding gun. Okay? A couple things to inspect here before you get started. Make sure that the cable that comes out of the gun is nice and straight. If you get a kink in it like this, what's going to happen is it's going to keep the wire from flowing through smoothly, and it might kind of jump and start on you, or it might not come out at all. It might jam up inside the machine. So we want to make sure that's nice and straight. I'm going to lay that out behind me. Okay, I'm just going to set this over here for a moment. Notice my machine is not on. And we're going to look at the controls here on the front. Okay? Before you even turn this on, you want to take a look at your wire speed and at your voltage. Okay? Now, typically on my wire speed, for most of the welding that we do in this class, I like to think of the number 57. So I turn my wire speed to 50, and I turn my voltage up to 7. That's going to get you through most of the MIG welding you have to do. If you find yourself burning through the metal and you're like trying to weld and you're leaving holes behind, you can turn down the heat a little bit. Just remember that if you turn down the heat, you're also going to have to turn down your wire speed as well. You can't keep feeding it out that fast because it won't melt fast enough to keep up with it. So if you turn down the voltage, you're also going to have to turn down your speed. But I like to think of 57 as my starting point. Okay? And then all we have to do to weld is to make sure we have a working welding mask. Okay? Some of the welding masks will have a button up at the top corner that says to test it out. Okay? And you got to push that before it will actually come on and off. This is one of our newer welding masks, and these come on and off automatically. Okay? When you're adjusting this to fit your head, this little button on the back is used to adjust it. Make sure you push it in before you turn it. I have a fat head, so I'm going to loosen that up, and I'm going to push it in on the back and adjust it down. Okay? Don't play with the outside ones unless you absolutely have to. If you find that it doesn't move at all, if it's flopping down, you can tighten those up so that it'll stay up when you're not working with it. That way you don't have to keep holding it while you're trying to work with your materials. Okay. Let's take a look at our gun here real fast. When you start welding, you want to make sure this tip, some of them screw on, some of them just slide on and off. This one slides on and off. And you want to make sure that it's about 1/4 of an inch away from your tip, which you can see inside. So here's our welding tip, and our shield goes over the top. This is going to keep the gas in a little puddle right around the end. You want to make sure this is down to about 1/2 an inch past that. So we're going to use our wire cutters here, and we're going to cut that down just a little bit. One thing I don't want to see people doing is I don't want you to see you pulling the trigger and tapping on something to cut this off. Yeah, it works, but then we end up with a whole bunch of little pieces of welding rod stuck everywhere, and then somebody inevitably gets poked by them. So make sure you use wire cutters to cut that off. Okay. Okay. Another thing you might want to look at is the inside of your cone. Now, is the cone completely clean on the inside, or does it have slag buildup on it? If it has slag built up on it, that's the reason these pliers, have a funny shape on the nose. That goes inside, and you twist that around. Okay? And after you do that, you should have a nice clean cone on the end. Okay? After welding for about 5 to 10 minutes, take a look, make sure that's still clean, because the slag will build up on that. And if you want to reduce the slag, we do have this stuff. Okay? We have our nozzle gel, which you can take when this is hooked on the gun. You put this on the gun, and you can dip this in here if you want to help cut down on how much the slag actually sticks. Not required, but it does help. Okay, so now we've checked our nozzle, we've checked to make sure our wire strength, our wire length is good. We made sure that our cable is running free beneath us. We have a working welding helmet, and we have it adjusted to fit us, and now we're ready to weld. So then we're simply going to turn this on, making sure that our material is firmly on the table with the clamp hook to it, and then we will simply line up and we will go about our welding.